happening. Talking college hoops, talking about number 1 Villanova going down at Marquette, talking about number 2 Kansas going down in Morgantown to West Virginia. Pump them or let them go on those breaks, because with Kentucky also losing now, number 4 Kentucky just lost to Tennessee. So 1, 2, and 4 all go down on the same night. That's almost unprecedented. So who's number 3? This team, Mark Few's team, Gonzaga. Are we now looking at the Zags as the number 1 team in the land? Pump those brakes or hit the gas?
Have to hit the gas on that. When 1, 2, and 4 goes down,
What do you do?
number 3, and that team is undefeated. The only undefeated team in the country. Gonzaga sitting at 19-0. I understand they don't play.
Who they beat?
You told us before. They beat Arizona.
On the road.
And they beat St. Mary's in conference.
And that's it.
That's what I have to give
That's
you.
the resume.
But
that's the full body of work.
They still have to be the number 1 team in the country. Excuse me, updated. I guess we have them at 20-0. So I guess they've won since then. But yeah, they have to be the number 1 team in the country. Mark Few's bunch, they play very well. They've blown out teams. So even though they haven't necessarily played marquee competition, they've absolutely destroyed teams. When they beat St. Mary's, that wasn't even a contest. So everybody that's on their schedule, they've not only met them, but they've blown the doors off those teams. So they have a lot of transfers on this squad. This is a squad that's gelling, that's playing well together. Hey, this squad deserves it. I don't think they've ever been ranked number 1 in school history. I think number 3, where they are now, is their highest ranking in school history. So as much as they've played well and haven't lost, I mean, this team has paid the dividends, and they deserve to be number 1 when everybody around them seems to be crumbling.
They got there in 2013.
To number 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they've made a run. They did have one run to the Elite Eight not too long ago, lost to Duke in that Elite Eight. But you're right, this team is never maxed out. You go back to the Adam Morrison days, and they've had, like, Blake Stepp was a great, Derek Ravio. They've had players in that program that you thought, all right, this is the year. Zag's going to the Final Four.
Adam Morrison comes to mind.
Never happened in their history, right? We haven't seen them in the Final Four yet. To validate the rankings, you're right. They have to be put 1. Why have them if 1 and 2 and 4 lose? And you're not going to move them up to 1?
Yeah.
Then what's the point?
And you have Baylor, who was number 1, and as soon as they were number 1, they lost the game. So I don't even know if you really want to be number 1, because Baylor's lost to number 1, Villanova, that's not necessarily the best place to be, because then you have that target on your back. I wonder if we asked Mark Few, would he be happy about that, or would he rather fly under the radar? They should be number 1,
right?
But you see what I'm saying, though?
No doubt.
That brings the target.
And here's where the real conundrum comes in for the committee. Because, okay, let's say they go to 1, which we believe they will.
They should.
Based on what happened tonight, right? So now you're number 1. If the only hiccup possibly there is St. Mary's in a rematch, let's say they blow out St. Mary's again. They go on to win the WCC. Okay, so maybe potentially beating St. Mary's 3 times. So you beat the same team 3 times. Great, but the only other good win is at Arizona, which will be long, long in the past. Are you going to make them the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA? Well, if they're number 1 in the country. If they're number 1 in the country, CT, then you have to. But, how could you knock them off that perch? If you're going to put them 1 and they don't lose, how could they not be the number 1 overall seed?
You do have a point. Will they be able to run the table? I'm not necessarily sure on that.
The committee's hoping they don't, by the way.
I'm sure, because that will put them in a
stuck.
peculiar, tough situation.
Exactly, like if Kansas wins the Big 12.
Yeah.
Right? What are you going to do with those tournament teams? Go win your conference tournament, Kentucky, you roll through the SEC. You're going to put Gonzaga over those schools?
That's tough. The number 1 team in the country and the number 1 team in the tournament.
We'll
see how it plays out. But they've earned it right now, but they have to continue to prove it to see where they get ranked in the big dance.
And remember this, a number 1 has never, ever in the history of the NCAA tournament lost to a 16. If the Zags got the number 1,
they won't lose to a 16.
They'd be like, oh, this is the year.
No,
it's going to happen.
No, not at all.